Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey,
Hello,
what's going
Omega.
on?
How are you doing?
Hey, doing all right? I
Go ahead.
no, I say I am. Remind me to never shave my beard ever again because
Yeah,
I
I was
look
going to
like
say
I'm
you look very
20.
different. You look very, very different.
I look like I'm 15. I hate it.
Yeah. So for some reason, I'm getting a weird signal error on here. So if there's any kind of lag, I do apologize. I wasn't having this last week, but it seems like there's a little bit of lag.
Oh yeah, your camera's like all of like 4p.
Is it? That's really interesting. It says connection is good, but try plugging. This is literally plugged into the router. This is not a Wi-Fi computer. So not sure what that means. Anyway,
Wi-Fi warrior.
we'll get it figured out. I'm guessing there's just because it's been kind of like this off and on for the last couple of weeks.
Really?
So I'm guessing it's something with the service because I've reset the router, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing.
They're throttling you.
Yeah. We'll work on it later. Hopefully we can make it through the stream. And I do apologize because I think what StreamYard does is it actually corrects the lag after it's done. Like when it gets processed and everything, it clears up stuff. So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. Hopefully nothing major happens. So I've never had a problem with that with this service. So there you go. So as you guys can see, Cyber is not here. And
yeah, he had his surgery for his personal enhancement.
Yeah, so his cybernetic foot or ankle or whatever.
Oh, I was gonna say he got a penis enlargement, but whatever.
But yeah, so he's, if you guys want to know everything that's going on with him, head over to his Twitter. He's got a post about it. It's pinned to the top. If you're curious about it. Hopefully he's better soon. He was going to try and join us today, like via the mobile phone, because he can't really sit up in a chair at the moment. But I basically just told him, like, just take the day off. Don't worry about it. It's not that serious type thing with us here, because we're going to be talking about WandaVision. And you guys can drop super chats for any other stuff you want to talk about. But we're going to be talking about WandaVision and theories that didn't actually pan out, things that didn't work.
Yeah.
And if it screwed up the expectations of the show. And of course, all other subjects are an option. If you guys want to talk about anything else in the chat, drop a super chat and let us know, and we will do that. So we'll see how quickly this goes. So I've got this list. I've got a list pulled up over here from a couple different websites of things that were basically predicted or theorized for the series. And we're going to go through them and see how these affected viewing experiences for everybody. And so, so spoilers for WandaVision, by the way, if you haven't seen it, and if you haven't, go watch it. It's like 4 hours of your time on Disney Plus. So
yeah, really.
Anyway, so the first one I'm going to talk about is the commercials in the show. Now, there was a theory that the commercials represented the Infinity Stones.
I don't think I heard that one.
Well, yeah, this is it. Basically, they were saying that each commercial represented one Infinity Stone. And a lot of people were upset that that's not what actually happened. That the commercials were literally about Wanda's trauma, basically, and what happened to her in her past. Now, I never was one of the people that thought that the theories of the stones being the commercials or whatever, I never thought that was something that could happen.
Yeah, me either. I pretty much figured that that's exactly what they were. There was just her past traumas. I kind of entertained the theory, thinking like, oh yeah, that may be possible, because at the time, literally anything was possible. We only had after like maybe 2-3 episodes.
Yeah, it says here the toaster in the first episode had a red glowing light. The next episode showed the Strucker watch, which was a standout at the time as the Time Stone. The Hydra Soak was in a blue box, which could looked like the Tesseract from the first Captain America movie. Basically, there were things that all kind of pointed in that direction, but they never actually, it never actually happened.
I'm sure the producers probably wanted to hint towards it, but it wasn't that. It actually wasn't the thing.
Yeah. So, and keep in mind, a lot of these theories are basically ones that were like created by fans. They were fan theories or site theories. I don't think the only thing I hold the show accountable for is the X-Men stuff because of Pedro being on it. Because I feel like that was a setup for something and they just didn't pay it off. So for me, I don't hold them accountable for everything.
Yeah, that could have been played out to be something much bigger, but nah. It was exactly what it was. They just recast them. Yeah.
So the next one I want to talk about, and actually, let me go ahead. I'll actually pull this list up on the screen so we can look at it together. The next one I want to talk about is the people in the commercials are Wanda and Pedro's parents. I didn't even hear about this one. Like this wasn't one that I heard about at all.
Me either. I'm trying to think back to the actors who actually played. I was like, no, they look nothing like that. So
yeah. So
I guess that got tossed out the window.
It says when the commercial aired the second episode, fans were quick to point out that 2 people in the ad were the same as the ones from the first episode. Anytime a commercial aired, one or both the models returned. Fans began to speculate those 2 were actually Wanda and Pietro's parents. I'm guessing because they were a older man and woman. And so they just kind of equated that. Could she be projecting the memories of her parents into the commercials? Turns out it was another dead end. While a proper explanation was never given, it was assumed these were more residents of Westview that were forced into their roles on the WandaVision sitcom. So I didn't think of any of this at all. And I want the chat to chime in as well. If you guys heard of these or you did not hear of these, because this will give us an idea of whether or not these impacted viewing experiences for it. So to be honest, I didn't even know we would see their parents. Like, I didn't even know that was an option. When we got the episode where the parents were there in Wanda's flashbacks or whatever, I never anticipated an episode like that. So for me, this wouldn't have ruined anything because I didn't even know that they were I didn't even have an inkling that they were gonna show up. And so that was an interesting one. As we move through this list, by the way, guys, things will start to be more like the theories that people were talking about or whatever. So here's the one about who is Jimmy Woo's informant. Now, in the 4th episode, he tells Monica that he had an informant that was in Westview that had gone silent. And who would this informant turn out to be? Surely it had to be an important character. But there was nothing here. And there was a lot of speculations about it. So thoughts on this? Do you think we're ever going to find out? Do you think we saw who that informant was? I mean, what do you think?
I hope this comes up sometime later, like say either in Doctor Strange movie or just in some other movie that he's in or they reference him in. Maybe, I don't know. I think they kind of dropped it on here by leaving stuff and not really explaining it.
Yeah. Now, if you had to pick someone in the town that could have been the informant, who would have been your pick? Like now the series over.
I have no idea.
Because a lot of people said that Ralph Boner would have been the one.
I was going to say it may be him, but that turned out not to be the case.
Right. Yeah. So, because when they drop little things like this and they don't answer them, people assume that they have to be answered during the series. Now, this is one that I think if it wasn't answered in the series specifically, that when will they answer it? Is it going to be an Ant-Man and the Wasp 3? Or, I don't know. We have a thing here. It says, Ethan says the informant was a plot device. Yeah, I mean. Yeah,
probably just what it was. It was just some person. He said, I got an informant just to move the plot along.
Yeah.
That's probably sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
So they recently said they're going to explain who the witness is later on. Well, here's the problem. And I'm saying this with the utmost respect to the creators of this. Marvel always lies. They lie all the time about stuff. They will misinform people. They will misdirect people. They'll put stuff in the trailers that's not actually in the films or the TV shows. And they do it because they don't want to spoil things. So they send you in a misdirect. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So even when they say stuff like this, I don't always take them at face value.
Yeah, because I'm sure we'll probably get to it later on. But one of the producers said, one of the writers said she didn't even know who Mephisto was.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think they're BSing.
Yeah. All right, so let's go down to number 7. The hexagons everywhere hint that AIM is behind this. Now, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I actually thought early on that AIM was a part of the series.
Yep. That's
and it wasn't just because of the hexagons either. So
it was that beekeeper guy. Everyone was thinking, wait, is he part of AIM? Wait, is Sword part of AIM? And they're going to split off? What's with the bees?
Yeah. It makes more sense that they were incorporating Wanda's hex powers from the comics by using the hexagons on the series.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah, and I think that makes the most sense. But in our minds, we're like, hey, we want something more from this.
Yeah, there's a void here, and we're going to fill it.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, WandaVision reminds me of the series Lost. Did you ever watch the show Lost?
Oh, thank God I did not.
Okay. So that show introduced a lot of questions and did not answer even half of them by the time the show was over with. And I think WandaVision, in a lot of ways, people that were watching it filled the void of that type of mystery with the show. And I can't say I blame them. I mean, the show basically was a mystery. The first 2 episodes, we had no idea what was going on.
It was just your standard 60s spinoff.
Yeah,
That's about it.
so for me, like trying to come up with like a answer for everything it's just going to happen. It's what fans do, and I think we're heading into territory where some of these theories, because right now the ones we've looked at so far, I don't think these impacted viewing experiences. I think that a lot of these we're still wondering about answers about them, or we were wrong about them. But I don't think any of the ones we've talked about so far basically ruined the show for people, because I think a lot of people wanted things to happen. This wasn't one that I think people were necessarily like super hyped for. It's like if it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. So, all right, let's move on here. I'm going to throw in, I've got one of my own actually that we'll bring up here in a minute. Okay. Here we go. Number 6.
Yeah.
Here we go. This one is Monica Rambeau's engineer Reed Richards. Now it says, while trying to figure out how to get back through the Westview barrier, Monica says she's calling in a favor from a friend who is an engineer. Actually, let me make this a little bit bigger for everybody. Calling a friend who's an engineer. Immediately, fans begin to point out this would obviously be an introduction for the head of the Fantastic Four family. Reed Richards with the power. They'd be trying to figure out how to bring Marvel's first family into MCU for sure. This would be the way to do it. Nope, just another no-name character. Even at the reveal, fans thought it was a misdirect, and the real mind behind the tech Monica was using to re-enter Westview would be revealed the next episode. Alas, it was not to be, in the Fantastic Four will have to debut another time. So this is one where I was kind of expecting this to happen because it was really exciting, but looking back at it, I don't think it was realistic to expect this.
Yeah, I think even if they are going to incorporate Fantastic Four or even the X-Men, that stuff's way far away to even be planned at this point. I don't think.
Yeah, I think so. I think so completely. So the fact that they did not address this, do you think? Because we're getting into ruin the show for me territory. Did this bother you enough that you were like, screw the show, I hate it or whatever? Because I know some people were really angry about this.
Not really, because it could have been. A lot of people were saying it could have been Reed, it could have been Blue Marvel, it could have been Doctor Doom, it could have been all sorts of other people. Who knows? Yeah,
engineers, especially smart characters in comics, are a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. There's so many of them. But I think a lot of people want to see Reed Richards because they're ready now that Marvel has announced its Fantastic Four. They wanted to come in, but I kept thinking the longer it went on, like once we were in like episode 7, I'm like, if they haven't introduced this character already,
they're not going to.
Because look at how long the episodes were. We weren't getting
it was only like 40 minutes.
Episodes. Yeah.
If so,
so I thought it was a little weird. Would I have liked it if he had shown up in the series? I mean, I guess, but he wouldn't have been a bit like. We just get Reed Richards. We don't get the Fantastic Four. Think about that for a second. And we talked about this before about other characters and how they interact and stuff. What would have been the reason for them to come there as a brand new team that didn't even have their powers? We saw Monica in the show didn't really know how to use her powers. She had them, but she didn't know how to use them. So without a true proper introduction, it would have been weird for him to show up with his powers. Because if he had shown up and he didn't have his powers yet, people would be pissed off about it.
Yeah, because then people were like, "Oh, we're gonna get another origin story," or maybe because if he would have had his powers, we would have heard about it by now.
Yeah, Gary with One Eye Super Chat. Are you mad at me, Gary? You just got here. Just got here. No, of course I'm not mad at you. In the games 1, 2, 3, Loki coming out June 11th. What do you guys think about it? I'm excited for it because it's another mystery. It's another mystery for me. So. And this is also the Loki, the one that stole the Tesseract. So this is going to be,
or maybe Monica's engineer friend was Loki. Huh?
No, that's not. There we go. Let's keep that going or whatever. Yeah, Cody says the movie doesn't even have writers. I mean, that's the thing is they haven't even begun casting for these characters.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Charles here says I was more upset Monica's inclusion of the story was only to get powers that didn't serve the overall storyline.
Yeah, she's probably going to play a bit more into the next Captain Marvel movie or something else down the line.
Yeah, I think
that was just a setup for her.
I think Secret Invasion is another one where she may actually show up because that has to, or whatever. Newt says, I never believed this theory. It gets to the point where it's just a generic thing that doesn't need to happen. Well, that's what happened for me on the show as well, that it just got to the point. Now, before we move on to the next one, I want to talk about one that was kind of prevalent and it didn't pan out, and that was Ultron was going to be a part of the show. That he was either going to be Hayward or he was going to be inside the White Vision. And that was another one that I don't even think there was no Easter egg for that at all to me.
Yeah, because I didn't see Age of Ultron yet, still haven't. And I did see a bunch of clips, but Was it Ultron more or less destroyed at the end of that?
Well,
like once he's done.
The thing is, Ultron is known for just continuously coming back. That's kind of his thing. He's always coming back or whatever because he just transfers his consciousness. But Vision in Age of Ultron, spoiler alert, does actually defeat Ultron, and so we see that happen. And basically, it's like this existential thing. Like, is he alive? Is he not alive? Is he a consciousness that exists within Vision kind of thing or whatever? So all of those Easter eggs for that occurred in Age of Ultron, but nothing in the series made me believe that.
Okay.
So, yeah. It says here, Cody's talking about Monica Rambeau. She's supposed to have a bigger role, but then the pandemic happened. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Number 5, both Pietros will appear.
I thought that too, but no.
Yeah, it says with the reality bending aspects of the series, it was talk not one, but both of the Quicksilvers would make an appearance. Turns out the rumor was half true, but not in the way most expected. One of the Pietros showed up, but ended up being the one from the Fox X-Men universe, which also wasn't true. But it's revealed it's not even true in itself. Evan Peters was hired to play who Wanda thinks is her brother, but ends up just being a resident of Westview who was used by Agnes and Wanda's family to eavesdrop. It ended up being a long-form boner joke. So this to me was, out of every speculation we've had, this is the biggest violation for me from the studio.
Yeah, I kind of agreed. It could have been so much more. Like I said, probably somehow tying the X-Men in over the Fox X-Men over, or maybe some sort of multiverse, because everyone knows that Doctor Strange movie Multiverse of Madness is coming out soon, and maybe it was going to tie into something like that. But
right,
no,
I just don't see. So I gave them so much credit. I think it was it episode 4? Or was it episode 4 that he first appeared?
No, it was either like 4. 7. I think it was 7.
It was like 4. Was it 4 or 5? You got chat. Let me know. Correct me. What episode did Quicksilver appear at the end?
I want to say it was the 6 or 7 because I just saw episode 4.
Okay, maybe it was 5. Anyway,
yeah, maybe 5.
Either way, when he appeared, I gave them credit for. Yeah, Cody says 5.
Okay, it's 5.
Yeah,
all
okay,
right, cool.
Good. I gave them credit for introducing mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe because I thought this is big. This spiraled like a lot of the bigger theories that people got disappointed on came from the inclusion of Quicksilver. And I can't believe for a second that the people that behind this thought that the way they handled it would not be seen as
the producers were even saying like, "Oh, we didn't think everyone would make that connection." Are you serious? Like, for real? The Pietro of this universe is dead, and so with this weird magical mumbo jumbo that's going on, you don't think that people are going to theorize that they're going to have another Pietro being brought in from the Fox universe, even though y'all just got the X-Men's license back? Y'all didn't think of that? Oh, come on,
right? So
I have a little bit of optimism to think that maybe they're BSing us on that a little.
I don't know. So this is the thing. And Ethan, I totally disagree with you here. I think all the other theories, there were no setups for it. This one did raise a level of expectation for the show.
They got the actor from another franchise in.
Yeah, I think this was
played the same role.
I think it did spiral to a point where it was unexplained or whatever. But I think specifically the Quicksilver stuff, I feel like these expectations were fine. Wanting him to be the character, wanting to be from the multiverse, I feel like all of that was an expectation that I think was okay. I think all the other stuff, as we move through the list, we got a few more here, I think they begin to spiral a little bit. But the fact that they were being so mysterious about it, they knew what they were doing. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's why that's something in the back of my mind is saying like they're just bullshitting us, and they're just kind of the misdirect. That's what it is. That's the word I was looking for. They're just kind of giving us a little misdirect, and then bam. I don't know. Maybe that's total BS too.
So I have a question. This is for the chat as well, because I want to know what you guys think. If this didn't end up being the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe, would you have preferred it to just be a reanimated version of Quicksilver that looked different instead of being a joke? What do you think? How would you have felt about that if it would have just been a magically created Quicksilver that wasn't played for laughs? How would you have felt about it? Would it have been better for you? Because I feel like the thing for me is I was disappointed that he wasn't from the multiverse, but I think the offensive thing for me was when they turned it into a big joke. because I think that's where I had an issue with.
Yeah, it's kind of like really just Ralph Boner. The whole thing's just, but okay, fine.
So yes or did you answer yes or no if you would have preferred it to be the reanimated Quicksilver or not?
Jeez, I don't even know. At this point, what's done is done, but
just curious.
I guess.
I mean, I feel like the offensive part of this was the punchline at the end. That's the part that bothered me. I think everything else was fine.
I mean, it still is kind of like whatever, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever, who cares? But still, at the time, I was like, really, guys, really?
And I feel like her giving him speedster powers, like that was a little OP as well.
Yeah.
I mean, people
again, that's what the whole thing where everyone thinks like, okay, this is the Quicksilver from another universe because he had his powers instead of just Agatha granting him his powers.
And we still don't know how that happened. We know there was a magical object, but we don't know how that gave him powers. I would say still undetermined. Now we may see Agatha again. Maybe we'll get more answers for it. But if we're talking about just this season and questions that and questions unanswered and things like that, that's one where I was just like, I don't know how I feel.
Yeah, someone asked me that question earlier. Let me find who that was. In the games 1, 2, 3, yeah, I do think we're going to see Agatha again. Definitely, that character has gotten way too popular.
And here we go. This continues on here. Number 4, WandaVision will introduce the X-Men into the MCU.
Nope.
With Evan Peters showing up as Pietro, fans were sure this would lead to a Fox X-Men universe merging with the MCU proper. It seemed Wanda would use her reality-bending powers to bring the two universes together. Mutants would finally make their debut. While the sort of happened with the retcon of Wanda's origin making her the first note. That's wrong. That's in this article. Her origin doesn't make her the first known mutant in the MCU. That is absolutely wrong. The Scarlet Witch is a magical entity. It's not a mutation. So calling them out on this article, and maybe the chat's confused or whatever. Her powers were not mutations. That's not what it was. She was a being that was predicted. She was a mythological being that's bestowed with these powers. That doesn't make her a mutant. So I don't consider that a mutant for me. A mutant for me is a very specific thing. And Wanda's past using magic was not a mutation for me. What do you think? Did you take away that she was a mutant?
Honestly, as much as I read about the X-Men, I really didn't know too much about Scarlet Witch because she did most things with the Avengers, so I never really.
Her story has changed in the comics. She started out with the hex probabilities, then she was a full-on mutant, and then she became retconned as not a mutant. So her story in the comics has been changed so many times.
Okay, so that's what's confusing me because I was like, wait a minute, I never thought she was a mutant, but she was Magneto's daughter. But she's her adopted daughter. All that was changed around, and so I was like, okay, you end up having to do some research on that. I was like super confused because I kind of started reading comics around 2000.
Yeah, see, based on the lore of the show, she's a witch, not a mutant, which is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So this article, although I do like it because it is pointing out expectations, that part is incorrect for me.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but in the comics, yes, she's been both, and they've changed it multiple times.
Yeah, that confused the hell out of me too. So don't feel bad.
Yeah. And Cam here says in the comics she's both a mutant and magical, so you can do both. But I don't think her having witch powers at a young age, because first of all, mutations occur in puberty. That's how they happen in the comics. There's very few characters that have their powers pre that, very few. And I highly doubt that they would introduce something like that in the MCU at such a young age to set up that going forward. Plus the fact that they didn't really dive into the fact that it was a quote unquote mutation, because it acted like the soul, the Mind Stone, basically activated her connection to the Scarlet Witch powers. Like it amped up her powers or whatever. It's a very confusing thing. It is, honestly. But I would say for me, she's not a mutant. Yes, Jazzy. He did have a necklace the whole time. Yeah, I do believe that the necklace was enchanted. Obviously,
it was a necklace that was given her the super speed.
But I still understand how that happened.
Yeah, it's still like, wow, she's that strong to give someone an enchanted item to give them super speed. Well, then again, it happens in D&D all the time, so it's probably not as strong as his actual ability, as the actual Quicksilver's ability, but it's probably just good enough for a show.
Yeah. So outside of that, though, taking that away from this article, the idea that the X-Men would be introduced into the MCU, this is one where I feel like this was verging on like unrealistic expectations, but also it could have happened.
Yeah, it could have happened, but it was a bit of a long shot. Also, one of my favorite mutants.
And the only reason I say it could have happened is because of Quicksilver, which we found out was not.
Yeah, once we had Quicksilver in there, everybody was like, maybe. What did they got planned? Oh, nothing.
Oh gosh, if you guys hear a bunch of sirens outside, literally everything just went crazy. So
how do we?
So also there was a theory moving this along even a bit more that the hex would spread over the entire world, and that would create mutants or whatever. That was another one. I think there was several variations of this story on how it would play out, and none of them came to pass. So here's where we're getting into like ruin the show territory. I want to know if this was the theory that ruined the show for people in the chat. If you're watching this on playback, if you're watching this live, was this the theory that kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back, basically, for you guys? Because I am curious about that. And let's move on to the next one, which is number 3. Here's another one that came from the Pietro stuff. Magneto is Wanda and Pietro's father. So with no X-Men being merged into the MCU, that also means that Magneto is not revealed to be Wanda and Pietro's father for now. No, he's never going to be, but they say for now. There we go, keeping that hope out there. It was thought that since the show would be digging deeper into Wanda's past, it would finally be revealed that Magneto fathered her and her brother. That was played up in the Fox X-Men universe with Evan Peters crossing the border. It seemed like the mutant leader went his way. Instead, they were shown to be 2 regular people trying to scrape by in Sokovia while avoiding ongoing violence that had overtaken the country. So, this was one that I never thought was going to happen. There was actually a fake trailer. Did you ever see the fake trailer?
No.
There was a fake trailer with Magneto like cut into the trailer, like he was fighting Vision or whatever. it was.
I never see that.
Honestly, I was surprised how many people that make content on YouTube believed it. I looked at it and within 5 seconds, I knew it was fake.
That's funny.
But I mean, the thing is,
I gotta find it.
This one was the one where I think this verges into unrealistic expectations. I think this was a bit too far.
I mean, I wanted it too. Like I said before on this show, if Magneto comes in, I will bust, and I won't say the rest, but I was really excited for maybe we get a Magneto. If that happens, it did nothing. Nope.
Yeah,
it was too unrealistic.
This may be controversial, but I do believe that when Magneto does get introduced, and I think he will, it's not going to be the classic Magneto. It's going to be an updated Magneto with a slightly different origin story.
Onslaught.
So yeah, there's going to be something different, because I truly believe that there's no way to make Magneto work. The classic Magneto, unless we do something with time travel, can't work. They could do time travel. That's possible.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a little weird, considering we haven't even introduced mutants yet. And
yeah.
all the characters that we know of, the heroes that have existed in the world, we've been introduced to so many classic ones, and the idea of Magneto being around all this time and not doing anything seems a little
Apocalypse kind of had a reason. He's like 4,000 years old, and he's probably been dormant this entire time. So I was about to say, what about Apocalypse? No, wait, there's actually reasons for him not doing anything.
Yeah. So this one didn't bother me. This was an expectation that a lot of people had. They were pissed off about, but this one I didn't.
I wasn't pissed. I was a little disappointed, but it's whatever. Yeah.
So here we go. Number 2, Mephisto is behind the creation of Wanda's children. So we don't even need to read this one. This one was one that we talked about almost every week after the 3rd episode or whatever.
Mephisto confirmed. And it turns out Mephisto unconfirmed.
I don't remember when I jumped off this train. I feel like I was on this train for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I was finally like, I don't think he's going to happen. And I switched over to Pandemonium. I think Pandemonium is possible. And then I thought Nightmare was possible because they mentioned the word Nightmare, which we find out that was another expectation that didn't happen or whatever. I don't know if it's on this list or not, but we'll talk about that at the end, because I've got a few that I don't think this list mentions. But Mephisto, did you think this was going to happen? Was this one of the ones?
Yeah, I honestly thought this was going to happen, but because again, it was like with the kids and everything, if they're going by the comics, this is kind of what happened. But then the producers, which I think they might be BSing us on this, saying that one of the writers was saying she didn't even know who Mephisto was until after this show. Right. So it's kind of like, oh boy, the show is just what it is. There's no special plot or anything behind the curtain. What you see on TV.
Because I was like, the stork is Mephisto. And people were like, the fly is Mephisto. The rabbit's Mephisto. Everybody, Ralph is Mephisto. Like,
He was the Illuminati. He was the Illuminati. He was behind everything. But no.
This is one of the ones that I was a little bummed out about, and the reason why is because the kids weren't properly explained in the show.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't truly understand where they came from.
Because even when Wanda, when it was finally revealed that Wanda did this whole thing by herself, it was kind of like, wow, she is really strong, but really strong to even make 2 sentient beings on their own. Well, 3 sentient beings on their own, technically.
Well, she could, but I don't think she consciously created the kids. That's the thing. Like Vision was.
It's probably knew what she was doing
with Vision.
Vision was that was she did that on purpose. But with the kids, that's probably modern Mind Stone screwery.
Right. So now that we know how the series ended, and we see that Wanda is, as the Scarlet Witch, is reading the Darkhold, and you hear the kids screaming from inside the Darkhold or whatever. Mm-hmm. Do you think Mephisto's still a possibility down the road? Because it does seem like that might be the direction they're going. So this theory,
now that the writers know of Mephisto, because actually, and even someone in the chat, forgot who, sorry about that. They even mentions like, do you really think Kevin Feige was going to make something that big of a reveal into this show? Yeah. If he's going to, I was kind of like thought of like, maybe if he's going to make something that huge and bombastic, it's going to be in a feature. It's going to be in a featured film,
right? And actually, I think that WandaVision ultimately was about exactly what the title was, which was Wanda and Vision. That's really what the show was about. There was no, I mean, I guess you could say Monica was probably the biggest introduction to a new character because she's going to go on. I mean, Agatha may come back, but I think Monica's the one that we know for sure is going to continue on or whatever. I think Mephisto could still happen. We still have Doctor Strange. Yeah. I think that's probably the most logical place that we'd see Mephisto next would be in Doctor Strange. I know Spider-Man has been hinted to have something to do with this, but I don't think Mephisto is going to show up in Spider-Man 3. I just don't think that's going to happen. All right, let's move on to their number 1 fan theory. And speaking of Doctor Strange comes to save the day.
Nope.
So, yeah, this is one that I actually bought into because I thought for sure if we're setting up for Doctor Strange 2, it makes sense for him to show up. Because remember, we talked about all the people that could possibly help with this, and the only person that came to mind that could do anything would be Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And they didn't show up. And I know there's theories and statements about it, like there were scheduling issues or they couldn't actually get it done for one reason or another. And even Benedict said that he had wished he could have been part of it. And they wish they could have made it happen. So I think the intention was to have
he was probably supposed to, but due to the Rona and other stuff, it just didn't work out.
So this one disappointed me, but not enough to ruin the show. This one was like a letdown.
Honestly, I wouldn't even say this was a theory, being that we now know from behind the scenes they wanted to do it but couldn't, so they kind of just had to make do. So I don't know if this is really a failed theory or not. I mean, technically it is, but
it's more of an expectation than a theory. I think people might have expected it or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And looking at the money they spent on this show for special effects and stuff like that, they easily could have had Doctor Strange there. I mean, he could have totally worked on the series. And Ethan says this ruined the finale for me, but not the show. Yeah, we're going to talk about
the finale. That, sure, but the show is still good, but just not finale. Yeah. The finale was meh. It's okay.
Yeah. So just popping up a few of these comments here, and there we go. So Jazzy here says, it's definitely about WandaVision and how she was dealing with grief. Do you think people talk more about other things other than what Wanda's going through? So here's my thing. I think it took so long for them to reveal that that's what the show was about.
Yeah, it's just her going
a lot of the theories. A lot of the theories popped up because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it just turned out to be just Wanda going through literally the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah. So... And I think that's great because that does show that that's ultimately what the show was about. And I'm okay with that. But I do think it's fair to say that people's expectations were higher because we didn't understand what we were watching. And this is actually interesting. And I saw a lot of articles about this. They said that the way WandaVision was done, the way it was aired, the way it was written, the way it was set up was such an old school concept of storytelling for TV. Yeah. That a lot of people just aren't used to it anymore.
Yeah, because people just have especially with streaming nowadays. And hell, even I've abandoned television back in 2010. So but I'm old, so I still remember a lot of those shows. But for a lot of people who were, say, literally born in 2000, who are now freaking 20, Jesus Christ. Anyway, they really haven't experienced anything like that, except within reruns, maybe.
Mm-hmm. This one here says, "Don't blame Marvel. They wouldn't fly in Benedict for film 2 scenes. Same with Darcy." Yeah, that's the truth. That's it. Especially with everything that's going on, because they have to quarantine for 14 days in and then quarantine 14 days out.
It was just a hassle.
It's a month gone. It's a month gone because of that. So unless you're already there on set, it just didn't make any sense. So Elizabeth says, "I was on the Mephisto train for the whole series. Agatha didn't seem
same
like
year
in the show for the big bad." So
same year.
You know what? I think when the Agatha All Along song came out, that's when I was just like, she's the big bad. Mm-hmm. She's the main villain of the series, because it didn't make sense after that point for it to be anybody else. Which, by the way, that song, it went like number one all over the place, and I've heard
that thing caught on.
I saw a video on YouTube where it's like it was basically that song in like 10 different languages or something. It was pretty funny. And there's remixes of it. There's like the trap remix and all that stuff.
I just heard one guy freestyle over it.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's a great jingle. It's a great song. Yeah. So were there any expectations you had for the show that kind of ruined it for you now that you look back at it?
I wouldn't say nothing really ruined it, because I was still just along for the ride. So it was kind of like whatever happens. But of course, I did have my theories, like they're going to introduce the mutants, Chris Evans Pietro is going to be the introduction into maybe dragging into Fox X-Men and maybe doing it right for once. I thought Magneto was going to show up. I thought Doctor Strange is going to show up. Maybe even the Juggernaut comes in. I don't know.
Yeah, chat. I want you guys to drop this in there now. We're going to talk about some of your thoughts. What were some of the expectations you had that didn't happen on the series? Because I would really love to know what you guys thought, and we'll talk about those today as well. So, all right, moving forward, based on what we saw in WandaVision and some of the things that were set up, where do you think we're going to get mutants now? Because there is a rumor that we're going to get Marvel The Mutants. So based on what we know is coming out, do you think it's going to be on one of the shows? Do you think it's going to be in the movies? How would you like for them to do it? Would you rather them introduce like one mutant in a show, or basically dedicate a whole series to introducing and setting up the mutants? Because I know you have been very critical of the way Fox did the mutants.
Oh boy!
So they're in the MCU now. We didn't get them in WandaVision. What would be your ideal way moving forward now to set up the mutants? Would
honestly
you
dragging them into the FGC, the MCU? I don't think they can at this point, because it's gone on for so long, and with mutants they had to be there at the beginning, because, like you said, it's a mutation that happens during a certain period of life, and you can't just have like especially if you're going to have them start like right now. Cyclops is probably like 15.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted Storm and Black Panther too, but that's not going to happen.
Wanted Magneto to come to the show. A lot of people wanted Magneto to come to the show. Cody says, "I think the seeds will be planted in Eternals." I could see that, because that show is going to jump around chronologically. I think time-wise, I think it's going to show like 3,000 years in the past or something.
If they do something like that, that'd be interesting. Like, I honestly think they might just have their MCU and then the mutants. They might just split them off and just have the mutants done correctly, instead of what those instead of like those Fox abominations. Yeah.
So Marvel's The Mutants. Let me explain why I think they're going with that. I have a theory on this. So I think it would be, I don't think it would be controversial to say that like some of the best X-Men are the female characters. I mean, there's a lot of them that are women. And I think that from a branding standpoint, we will see the X-Men, but I don't think it's going to be the first film. I think they want to establish mutants outside of the X-Men first, and we may see like the X-Force or X-Factor or something like that.
Oh yeah, maybe Excalibur and all the rest of them.
Yeah. I think that's a possibility.
Maybe Alpha Flight.
Yeah, I'd love Alpha Flight. Such a great comic book. I know there's a lot of controversy about that with John Byrne and how that came about. I would love to talk about that. When it comes to like classic X-Men stuff, like that stuff from that period, that was like my stuff.
Yeah,
like I love that stuff.
Yeah, because what I got in the comics was the Jim Lee X-Men. That was my X-Men.
That's like what the late 80s, early 90s kind of X-Men. Elizabeth here says, "I think they should drop a hint somewhere else before the movies to get people interested." I actually think I think they could do that. I would say that people are probably already super interested. Like if Marvel needed to know how much people want the X-Men characters in the MCU, WandaVision should have shown them how much they want these characters. So, and I agree with Cullen. I think we need to go with relatively unknowns or all new actors for the X-Men in the MCU. I don't need any of these like big, high dollar actors coming in just to try.
Yeah, because even though I was super critical of all the X-Men movies, the people looked the part at least. They actually had very good casting in those movies. I'll say that at least.
Yeah. Let's see. Where's another one? Apocalypse could come in the Eternals. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So,
although I did kind of like the intro to Age of Apocalypse, even though I freaking hated that movie, that intro was fire. At least I'll give it that.
There's one good thing about Age of Apocalypse is that Magneto was actually at his real power
level. His actual power level,
but it took him getting boosted by Apocalypse. Which I thought was wrong.
Oh, and I was looking at this one TikTok video. I actually saw it on like Facebook Shorts. I mean, not Facebook, YouTube Shorts. Anyway, I don't go on TikTok. That's the devil. Anyway, dude was basically saying how they completely robbed Angel. I mean, they robbed Angel, especially in the third movie. How you only see the guy 3 times throughout that entire movie, even though he's one of the most important X-Men out of the entire series. But whatever, and one of the most tragic. But
Black Knight's going to be in the Eternals. That's going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see what the costumes look like. That's probably the one where I'm really, really excited about it. Let's see. Hood Rat Pad here with the 49 super chat. Thank you so much for the donation. We need an entire X-verse, if you will, separate from the MCU.
Yeah, that's why I honestly think that's how they're going to do it.
So here's my theory on that. I think because of the popularity of Disney Plus, clearly their concept of like doing these high budget shows weekly is going to be a thing moving forward. Obviously, I think it will be easy for them to do the big X movies, but then maybe have the X shows on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So that we end up with because one of the biggest problems I had with the Fox X-Men universe was if you weren't Mystique, Magneto, or Wolverine, they didn't care about you.
I was like, why Mystique of all people? She is so C tier. She's not terrible, but she is nowhere near on level of like, say, the Phoenix or freaking Magneto.
Right. So I think we need the shows to bridge that gap with characters that don't get a lot of screen time. There's so many characters in the X-Men.
Hank McCoy.
There's so many.
God, I was hating on Kelsey Grammer being this Hank McCoy until I actually saw the movie. I was like, holy shoot, that's freaking Hank McCoy right there.
Yeah.
He's another great character they could have focused on, but no.
I have a theory that we might not actually see proper X-Men movies until the next phase because
probably
might wait.
I even think someone in chat was saying like not till 2024.
Right. Yeah.
At the earliest, I think.
Let's see. Cody says, I think the school stuff will be in shows. That actually makes sense because it would be cheaper for them to make and it would take place around the school. So Newt here says, that's one of the big problems with the DCUs. They cast 2 big names. So either they're too busy, have too much drama, or just want to continue in their roles. I mean, you're not totally wrong there. I think they have done that. I think that they're thinking about the DCU big one. So Ben Affleck is Batman. Henry Cavill is Superman. I don't know if Henry Cavill would be considered a big name when he was cast as Superman, but
not at the time. But he is now, yeah.
Jason Momoa is a big name. Gal Gadot, I don't think she was a huge star
not
before
at the
Wonder
time.
Woman.
No,
but she is now. And Ray Fisher, Cyborg, wasn't doing anything.
Actually, I think Gal Gadot was about to quit acting before she got the Wonder Woman role.
And Ezra Miller as the Flash is another big name. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense that they would. I agree with that. I think the majority was that. Xavier wasn't sidelined either. The problem with Xavier is his relationship with Magneto was pretty much a repeat every movie. It was like they realized that there was a good story there, but they couldn't deviate from that. It was like Magneto's a bad guy. Oh, Magneto needs to help us. Magneto's a bad guy. I mean, that's kind of the way it worked, and he did that in the comics, but we don't need that in every single movie. Yeah, honestly. So I think they got it right. Right here it says, and then how they made her such a big deal, talking about Mystique. Big deal at the beginning of Days of Future Past, Patrick Stewart pretending he grew up with her. Yeah, that was dumb too. So
I mean, granted, Mystique is old, but come on.
This is completely separate, but I do want to point out that I think they dug themselves into a hole with this because when they hired Jennifer Lawrence to play Mystique originally, she wasn't the huge star that she eventually became. Yeah. Like she really blew up over the course of the years that she was with the X-Men movies. And so they got into a position where they couldn't not bend to her whim because she was an actor with a lot of pull. So they ended up writing so many stories around this character. Mystique was never like this.
Yeah, she was never a major actor. Yeah, she was never a major actor.
truly Mystique is an espionage character.
Yeah.
She wouldn't walk around as herself. A lot of times she walked around as other people, and you can't
Yeah.
do that when you have Jennifer Lawrence as the character. They should have. I can't say they should have cast more of an unknown, because Jennifer wasn't huge when she first got cast for this role, but they couldn't have predicted that she would become a huge star. And I think that was the problem with the Mystique character, honestly. Let's see. I only knew Gal from Fast and Furious. She was in a Fast and Furious movie?
Yeah, I think 2, if I'm not mistaken. It's either the second or the third one, if I'm not mistaken. She was I think she was the love interest or something.
Okay.
I forget which one. It's either the second or the third one. I can't remember. But yeah, she was in Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Oh, Cyber Ninja stopping in. Just saying hi. Miss you guys. Again, if you guys want to know what's going on with him, head over to his Twitter. It's a pinned tweet. It'll give you all the information on what's going on with his health situation, and hopefully he gets better very soon. Maybe he'll be able to join us next week. So
yeah, once the drugs wear off.
The thing is that she got huge during the course of the Hunger Games.
Yeah,
that was the series that actually set her up. Let me look at the timeline, because I think they kind of concurrently ran, right? I mean,
she was in Fast and Furious 7, 6, 4 through 6 apparently.
Really? That late? Interesting.
Yeah, I thought she was in like the second or third one. Oh well.
Yeah. She was in X-Men First Class before Hunger Games. So I still stand by my comment. She got big after that. The first Hunger Games came out after X-Men First Class. And then the second Hunger Games came out before Days of Future Past. And of course, we had the other 2 ones before the X-Men Apocalypse. So she blew up in the Hunger Games, and it actually affected her on the X-Men set. So anyway, so we got, let's talk a little bit before we wrap this up about next week, because we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming out. So now that we've kind of left WandaVision behind us, looking back at it, I actually think this was a great show to kick off this Disney Plus TV universe, because it was vastly different. And if you think about it, we had a break from Marvel for an entire year. Like nothing came out. So I actually think that benefited WandaVision, because had this show came out being as different as it was while other stuff was being released, I don't know if it would have been received as well as it was here. Yeah,
people would probably have been much more critical of it if it released then.
And Falcon and the Winter Soldier was supposed to come out before WandaVision.
Yep.
So
this year break probably was a very good thing.
Yeah. So now we have Falcon and Winter Soldier coming out next week. We're going to be reviewing it on Sunday, as we did with WandaVision, and talking about it there. Based on what you've seen, because I've avoided a lot of the trailers. I've watched maybe 2 of them.
Yeah, I've only seen maybe 2.
Based on what you've seen, where's your level of interest in Falcon and Winter Soldier, looking at the landscape of the Marvel TV shows?
At first it was about a 6. I was interested, but not like, oh my god. Now it's probably jumped up to about a 7.5.
Okay, so you're basically ready for the show. You want to see what it's going to do.
I just want to see what it's all about, because I think it's probably be something similar to like maybe like a Lethal Weapon, but with superpowers. Yeah.
So here we go. Cody says Falcon and Winter Soldier. Wow, it seems like a safe show. I've heard it's very MCU like. So it's very much like
this
is
probably be much. Yeah, it's probably be much more like Winter Soldier, but scaled down like a little.
I actually think it's going to be out of what we know is coming out, this is going to be the most Marvel like. It's going to be the most MCU like compared to the other shows, because I think the other shows are going to be very different.
Yeah, because WandaVision wasn't really quote unquote Marvel until like
the last 2 episodes.
The last 2 episodes, yeah.
Space Lord here says, I can't wait to see U.S. Agent. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Introverted.
They're going to put him in there.
Yeah. Combat shows are almost always good. So this is going to be a action espionage buddy cop type series. So pretty excited about that. Ethan says, at first I thought it was generic Marvel, but after I saw the clip they released, I am hyped. I agree. And I've actually seen some of the early reactions to it. Like I've read some of those online, and people are saying it's really good. They're saying
I honestly think it's going to be really funny, which I know a lot of people, especially a lot of DC fans, are like, it shouldn't be funny. This is stupid. First of all, edgelord, shut up. I like my action comedies. Leave me alone. Yeah, I think this is going to be very reminiscent of like an 80s like Die Hard 80s action movie. Yeah.
But updated for the and look, Cam he says Lethal Weapon. Yeah, very much like that.
That's what I'm thinking it's going to be.
Do you think Captain America will make a cameo?
He'd probably be some old guy on a bench somewhere just waving That's
I don't know.
I think he'll probably show up in like maybe 1 or 2 scenes. That's about it.
Yeah, this could be. Remember when they said they were getting Chris Evans back? This could be what they were getting him back for, just to come back as like a older Captain America in the series.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. It's Marvel. Everything is always a misdirect or whatever. Will you guys be talking about Godzilla versus Kong when it comes out? We'll probably do it in a review.
I'm interested.
Yeah. We'll talk about it because I think that's going to be on HBO Max. So, which by the way, don't forget next week. Also, along with Falcon and Winter Soldier, is
Snyder
Zack
Cut.
Snyder's Justice League.
Finally, Jesus Christ.
So, yeah. Says here, we're going to get another Young Avengers character being a Falcon. Yeah, a Patriot. Yeah, it's a younger, like, Captain America character. So, and Mike here says, can't wait to see Baron Zemo with his mask. The mask looks really, really cool. Very, very cool. And so...
That's right. Because I was wondering, like, where did this guy come from? Oh, yeah, he broke out at the end of Civil War. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Maltor says, sadly, I don't like Winter Soldier and Falcon, guys, so I don't care about the show. Well, I understand.
It may not be for everybody.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So, but based on the special effects, it looks like it's going to be really good.
Yeah, it seems interesting.
I'm hoping it's going to be really, really exciting or whatever. So, Green Ninja, what will get more views this week? First episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. They're not going to release the views for either of them.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's going to be a Snyder Cut because it's got so much press and it got so much attention, and people are kind of like me are just going to go, look, I'll watch it just to see what the hell this thing's all about, so you can shut up. It's
sort of like one of those things like what was it, Tiger King on Netflix, where everybody's like talking about it. People just want to watch it to see what it is.
Yes, to see the train wreck.
I've had some reservations about it because I feel like they've released so much stuff. Like
I think it's going to be awful.
So, well, I heard some early reviews of it, and it doesn't seem like the movie corrected a ton of the problems.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing too. So it's pretty much the same as the original, but with extra crap.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to reserve my opinion for when it comes out. Paigey was joking and saying that I said it was a 3 out of 10. I didn't give it any score at all, so we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. But yeah, what we're going to do is this is the schedule for next weekend and the way it's going to line up. So we're going to watch the Snyder Cut. Hopefully all of us can watch it before Saturday, because I think on Saturday we're going to do a stream just for the Snyder Cut, like a review of the movie.
Okay. And
then Sunday we'll do our normal stream where we'll talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier. So regardless of my opinion about the Snyder Cut or Justice League or whatever, I'm excited because next week we have so much stuff coming out over the weekend. Yeah. It's going to be crazy. We've got like 5 hours of TV to watch because we've got the 4-hour Snyder Cut and then we have an hour of Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I think after credits it ended up being like 40 some minutes long. We should have known that's what it was going to be anyway. Yeah. So
you're going to have like the 10 hours of credits like WandaVision did.
Yeah. So Space Lord says, I'm not going to watch Snyder Cut. It's not for me. I don't like the Snyder vision of these characters.
I don't blame you.
Cam says 12% of footage from the theatrical cut. I don't think that's true. I mean, it may be, but I've actually heard that some of the scenes that people did not think were Zack Snyder's actually are. So some of the scenes from the theatrical cut that people did not like have actually shown up in the Snyder Cut. So
boy.
We'll see. Ben reviewed it on Twitter. Where's Ben at? Actually, I just talked to him earlier. He always gives everything 5 stars. I wouldn't be surprised if he said it was amazing. So Snyder Cut's supposed to end on a cliffhanger. Well, good luck with that.
Cliffhanger to what?
To nothing. Thank you, Hood Rat Pat. Really appreciate it. I'm trying my best to do that. So anyway, basically wrapping all this up, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're coming up on the hour mark. We didn't have multiple topics today. I just really wanted to talk about WandaVision and the expectations and what everybody thought about it. So for me, I enjoyed the show. I thought as a series, it was really good. And with expectations aside, I think it did exactly what it needed to do for me. And the only negative that I have for it was the Quicksilver stuff. Like, that's really the only thing that I didn't like.
Yeah, and even that's kind of like whatever.
I was annoyed by it. It didn't ruin the show.
It was annoying, but yeah.
So, what about you? What do you think about the whole series? Were you happy about it? Did it set things up for you?
Yeah, the series as a whole, I mean, I tend to just enjoy things as they are, which is what I did with this. I was just watching a lot of the older episodes today, and the part with the talent show, I legitimately laughed at that because I usually like those cheesy kind of I like those cheesy old shows there, but I thought it was funny. So, even overall, I'm going to give the entire series 7. It was fine. Kind of stumbled a bit at the end, but hey, it was fine. It was interesting. They did a lot of things different, which I respect them immensely for.
Yeah. So in the chat, you guys, let us know what you think about the whole series. What would you score it on a scale of 1 to 10? So that would be interesting.
I gave it a 7, so I see a 8.5. I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah. So I don't think we're going to see another Snyder cut.
Oh God, I hope not.
I would really be surprised, guys. Just keep your expectations low. Don't get disappointed. If it happens, that's great if you're a fan of it, but don't plan on it. Cody says, I've heard Superman doesn't interact with the League. Weird.
Lord.
Very weird. Very, very weird.
8s, 9s.
I would give it an 8 out of 10 for me. I think the series was pretty strong.
9 would probably be the highest I'd go. Because once again, that ending kind of, it's kind of like, when you see like the gymnastics, the floor routine and everything, they did everything pretty well, but they kind of stumbled a bit on the landing, but still stuck it.
Yeah. All right, well, that's pretty much it, guys. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching this on Twitch and you want to go back and watch it from the beginning, head over to my YouTube and do so. And if you're watching it on YouTube, you know the deal. It'll be up in like an hour or so once it processes. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for joining us for the live stream. If you want to check out Cyber Ninja and see what's going on with him, head over to Twitter and check out his pinned tweet. It will tell you everything you need to know. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for showing up, and we will see you next week. Take care.